Let's do it. Let's do it. So we've already said a lot about Beedrill.
Yeah,
Beedrill is the cool bug of Viridian Forest,
yeah,
the cool aggressive bug of Viridian Forest.
yeah,
Um, and it shouldn't come out of a cocoon, but it does.
yeah,
Um, and it is a pretty standard basic bee.
yeah,
And it left a lot of room for people to play with different ideas of bees in later generations.
yeah.
And I think I don't know if there is an episode like this, but I would like it if there was. If there was an episode that was like a very bee populated area,
Yeah.
and you've got your Beedrills and your Rabombees and your Vespiquens, and I guess your bee adjacent Pokemon as well.
Mm.
I think it'd be really cool, like having the characters explore that and sort of go, look at how all these different bees coexist
Yeah,
or don't,
yeah,
or what conflict there might be between them, the ones that are more into flowers and then the ones that are, very matriarchal compared to Beedrills, which make no fucking sense coming out of cocoons.
yeah,
I think that would be a fun episode to watch
yeah. And you
to
could,
get a bit more of that environmental lore.
yeah. Well, on the note of environment, you could go down that route of because there's this big effort of save the bees and like how important bees are.
Yeah.
So you could have that kind of be a part of it of like um of like you could do a thing like for half a season you're like um there's like rumors of the bees kind of you know there being
Where
less
are
and less
all the
bees.
bees going?
Yeah,
And they're like migrating somewhere cleaner or
yeah,
something. And that's how they all get together from like different regions all over the world.
yeah.
I
Uh,
think that'd be cool.
you
Um,
could also do a thing where someone's kind of slightly exploiting the bees, like Team Rocket's exploiting the bees for their honey.
yeah, I think that'd be sick.
Yeah,
Um, but I think it'd be a good opportunity to repair Beedrill's reputation because we were saying Beedrill's kind of the cool aggressive one, but I
yeah,
guess it's cool because we have projected cool onto Beedrill, whereas in the show it was kind of a dick.
yeah,
Like it harassed people, it stole Metapod for no apparent reason. Um, and I feel like really Beedrill should have been a wasp
yeah. I was about to
because
say that.
wasps are dicks,
Yeah, really,
but
it's a hornet.
Beedrill being a bee gives bees a bad reputation, and I maybe the Pokemon generation just don't care as much about bees the way they should, and that's why they're all dying out.
Mm,
Because we all grew up with Beedrill being the asshole,
yeah,
uh, when it didn't need to be.
yeah. Well,
Um,
for me, the main thing that I like think of when I think of bees, and I think most people probably do, is that like bees make honey. Like they're known for
yeah,
having the stinger, but they also make honey. And I cannot recall. I mean, we might find out when we look into the law, but I'm guessing it won't have
no.
about beedrills making honey.
I think Beedrill leaned into the stinger, Tombi leaned into the honey, and Rabombi leaned into um flowers
Yeah,
and how it pollinates flowers. Whereas in real life, bees in general do all three of those things. In the Pokemon world, they are split out into three different bee Pokemon.
yeah,
So I guess um uh yeah, I
yeah,
guess it's an interesting take.
yeah. Well, and on the note of beedrill, kind of going into the stinger, kind of heavy. Like my main, so going into this episode, I was like, what's my main kind of thoughts on Beedrill? And I was like, so I've likely had one. but I can't particularly remember having one.
Yeah.
My main memory of Beedrill is uh, Ash Ketchum would often get like attacked by them at various points in the
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
And I think I think again part of the thing that's like cool about them is they are like, at least in the first generation before they have a wider pool of Pokemon, I feel like they are perceived as like a legitimate threat of like, you do not want to be messing with Beedrills.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see if its stats reflect that when we come to it, I guess. Yeah, like Beedrill was seen as a very like aggressive territorial Pokemon, I think.
Yeah,
In the same way as like Spearow, which was being the foil for Pidgey, where like Ash catches a Pidgeotto, it's friendly, they get along. Um, Ash antagonizes a Spearow, and now Spearow are like the enemy bird Pokemon,
yeah,
the aggressive bird Pokemon throughout the entire
yeah,
first season. I think it's the same with this line. Like Ash catches a Caterpie, has a really good Butterfree on his team that he connects with and bonds with. And it's heartbreaking when Butterfree has to leave. Ash antagonizes a Weedle, and the Beedrills get mad at him, and then Beedrill is his enemy every time they see him. Like, I mean, I guess it's good that the Pokemon communicate with each other across the region. Uh, but yeah, I think it does provide like a good opposite for the version Ash has on his team
yeah,
and the version that Ash doesn't, or like the
yeah,
parallel evolutionary lines,
yeah,
so that you have that comparison between what Pokemon are like in the wild and what Pokemon are like with a trainer, and how um I guess it heightens that sense of a relationship that Ash has with his Pokemon. And I feel like if they just had a wild Butterfree that was a dick,
yeah,
it wouldn't have the same effect because, you might get them confused looking at them because they're going to look exactly the same.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So having something that can be a parallel, that can act in that way, I think heightens the relationship. So even though Beedrill isn't one that you see having a I mean, I guess when Beedrill is used by his trainer, it does have a bond with that trainer,
yeah,
but it's not one you see having a bond with a primary trainer very often. Um, I think it does serve a purpose in
yeah,
heightening the relationships between Ash and his Pokemon.
yeah. And I think it's got right. Just before we move on, I think one of the things that like Spearow, as that I imagine will come up in the Spearow episode when we do that, um, has the Beedrill does not, is that Spearow gets introduced in the games like much later. So I feel like there's I feel like more people have got a connection to Beedrill, even though Beedrill is portrayed as a dick, versus Spearow, who is also portrayed as a dick, but I imagine much less people had it on their team. Um, but the other thing is, I think the other thing that goes against Beedrill in terms of it being, I mean, people really like it. It's got like a mega evolution. Like I know a lot of people who consider
Yeah.
like Beedrill to be cool. In fact, I know someone who Beedrill's like their favorite Pokemon, to the point where for their birthday I gave them like a Beedrill card for like their birthday.
I
Uh,
mean, Beedrill's got to be popular if there are Beedrill cards.
Very true, very true. Um, you know,
Is anyone? Oh,
and beyond
I was
the
gonna say,
the
no one's
base
making
set.
Kakuna cards.
Oh, oh, by that I meant the trading card.
Oh, the trading card. I thought you meant like a birthday card with a Beedrill on it.
No, I was like, because this is your favorite Pokemon. Here is one of my Beedrill cards from the card collection.
Ah,
Um,
that's cute.
oh, well, what can I say, mate? But yeah, so I know that there are a lot of people who are connected to Beedrill, but I think that one of the things that holds against it is somewhat what we were saying before. The kind of basic designs that would have been holding back the first generation of Pokemon also probably factors in on the fact that Beedrill does not have a particularly personable face or an ability to kind of make it sympathetic in some way, in the same way that
Yeah,
like they did with Caterpie.
yeah, because like I guess Caterpie and subsequently Butterfree have like pretty eyes.
Yeah,
Um, and like Beedrill has quite aggressive eyes, and even Kakuna has those like creepy, creepy looming out of you from the shadows kind of eyes. Um,
So,
yeah,
so should we have a look at the Dex entry?
yes,
Right.
let's do it.
Uh, just before we go into it, what I wanted to have a look at is how big or small they're making it out to be. Just because you had a run in with some hornets, which I imagine were massive.
Yeah,
Uh,
they were fine. They didn't come close enough to me that I was worried. My friend Dan was very funny, jumping out of the way.
well, I'm glad that no one got attacked by them. But yeah, you can like it doesn't have a mouth. It's got those kind of aggressive eyes. And it says here that it is. Oh, where does it say? It is 1 meter tall. So I imagine that if you came across a 1 meter bee, you would have run it even quicker in Italy.
Yes, yeah, definitely. This is the thing. Like Beedrill has said, I've seen memes where people are like, "Oh, I really wish Pokemon was real," and someone has replied with, "Well, Beedrill is 3 feet tall, so I don't think you do."
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things. I mean, I'd love it if it was real, but I feel like ultimately it would be more hassle than it's worth if it was real. And you know, Beedrill is very emblematic of that. So
Yeah,
let's
I feel like if Beedrill was real, I would have to have one to get over my fear of the wild ones.
yeah. I mean, I'm not so sure because I remember back when I was younger, we had like a nest of like wasps that lived in the wall, and that was not a fun time. So I don't know if I'd go. Oh, I'll spend more time with it just based off of my experience.
Yeah,
I mean, the first thing that has jumped out at me in this is the red and blue. Is
yeah,
it so it flies at high speed, attacks using large venomous stingers on its forelegs and tail, which to me says that occasionally it walks on all 6 legs, and
maybe.
I can't recall ever seeing a version of Beedrill where it is walking, because that is how bees walk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like they don't walk standing upright, do they? Um, so, but maybe that's in it before it's.
I think I've only seen them flying in the show. Like I've not seen a Beedrill walk. They just kind of hover.
Yeah, yeah, they're normally flying at Ash. Like the main thought that I have of them, and I was considering doing this for the drawing competition, was having it flying in kind of head first, like towards. But because
Yeah.
because I'd already done a similar thing for the Weedle, I decided against it. Um, but we've got here in yellow. It's 3 poisonous stingers on its forelegs and its tail. They are used to stab its enemy repeatedly. And then I'm interested in Stadium Professor. Flies at high speed, attacks with 3 stingers, one on its rear, one on each of its 2 forelegs, may appear in swarms, which to me sounds like this was a Pokemon that Stadium Professor did not want to fuck with.
Yeah, all the others, it's like, I'm gonna jab you and I'm gonna poke you, I'm gonna spill your guts out. And
Yeah,
with Beedrill, it's just like, nope, I'm good. May appear in swarms, flies really fast, has a stinger, I'm out, I'm done, that's it.
like I could imagine just like them looking at the Beedrill in the lab, and there being a bunch of bees like looking in on what he's about to do, and him being like, "I think I'm done with this. I think I'm done. I'll just write it down. May appear in swarms. Off you go."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's quite happy for it to fuck off in a swarm, and I cannot fault him for that.
yeah. I wouldn't want to be
Um,
messing about with the Beedrill. Um,
definitely,
no.
definitely not.
I get the feeling, right, even though I've not looked through these, that they're going to get into dick swinging contests soon.
I mean, at gold already, it can take down any opponent with its powerful poison stingers. Can it? Any opponent? A level 10 Beedrill can take down any opponent. Can it now? Because if it could, you're massively overpowered by the time you're out of Viridian Forest.
Well,
and then sometimes attacks in swarms. I feel like if this had been when it attacks in swarms, the combined power of all of these poison attacks can take down any opponent. Because then you've got one Charizard against 100 Beedrills. Fine, the Beedrill's gonna win, but the Charizard is gonna get through like 50 of them before they do. You know?
well, just as long as we know that they can take down. Maybe that was written as a little jab at the Stadium Professor of it. It fucked up Stadium Professor with its
Fucked
powerful
up
poison stinger.
stadium presser. Um, Most of it is. Oh, I like Crystal. It uses sharp poisonous stings to defeat prey, then takes the victim back to its nest for food. And now I love
Oh,
the idea that I guess is that why the Beedrill stole Metapod because they wanted to eat it.
yeah. Well, what I'm imagining is so there's an episode of Rick and Morty where they go to a wasp world, and they're all anthropomorphic wasps, and there's like a larva on the table, and they're like eating him alive, and he's going, my God, just kill me, as they're just ripping it. So that, but like a Mareep.
I like Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Uh, because I think it validates some of the impressions that I got about Beedrill. It said Beedrill is extremely territorial. No one should ever approach its nest for their own safety. If angry, it will attack in a furious swarm. Which I think that is the impression that I get of Beedrill. I think that one best matches so
Mm,
far kind of the overall emotional impact of a Beedrill.
yeah.
But I do like this one particular use of a specific adjective in Fire Red flies at violent speeds. Like it's not just fast, it's violently
Mm,
fast, which I really enjoy. Like anything can be fast. Like the things that they're like, yeah, it goes at Mach 5 is not described as violent, but Beedrill, despite not having a miles per hour in its Pokedex entry, is violently fast. Like I love the idea that it's like speeding past and like jabbing at you while it's going. It's just
yeah.
violently fast.
Yeah. Well, that's. I imagine that whoever wrote the stuff about proboscis is going.
Proboscis.
Is going. Yeah, but have you written the word? So, like, imagine that flies at violent speeds in brackets, very quick.
Very quick. Um, I like Diamond and Pearl. It feels like it's really summarized one particular engagement with a Beedrill, and then they didn't want to engage with it again.
No.
Its best attack involves flying around at high speed, striking with poison needles, then flying off.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's a move set, isn't it? You can have like agility
Mm.
and then pin needle, twin needle, poison sting, any of them. And then
And then flee.
no, what's the one where it comes back to you?
Uh,
The move where it attacks and then returns is a bug type move.
I don't
Fuck.
know. Should, should we get it up dead quick?
I'm finding it. You
Oh,
carry on reading
oh,
things.
go on. I'll get that back up. Okay, so
Uh,
they repeat that in black and white. They must have been very happy
yeah.
with that. It can take down any opponent. We've got that. We've had that. I like the fact
U-turn.
it says the most powerful poison. In comparison to what? It's like, oh, this is the stuff that Cleopatra did herself in with this.
The most powerful poison.
Right, Cleopatra's not very happy. Get the Beedrill poison, get the carpet, and we'll come back in half an hour. Um, it used to jab its enemy repeatedly.
Yeah.
Beedrill is extremely territorial. No one should ever approach its nest. This I
That's
like
that's
that.
the one from Ruby and Sapphire that I liked. Yeah, yeah. It's
Ah,
repeated. Yeah, I think these are all kind of repeats. Poison stings on its foreleg, stabs its play repeatedly. Then, oh, actually, let's go Pikachu and Eevee. Oh no, this is Mega Beedrill. I was like, oh, why is this one different? It's
oh,
Mega Beedrill. I like that it says dealing the final blow with the stinger on its rear. So I like that Mega Beedrill has a pattern.
mm,
Um, And then yeah, flying around at high speed, striking with poison needles, flying off. So um that's that's Beedrill.
Yeah.
What would you give? Oh, should we have a look at Smogon for it?
Yeah,
Sorry, even I'm
let's do it
skipping
dead
ahead
quick.
here.
Let's do it dead
Uh
quick. Uh, let's change that up. Let's see if we can get so it has jumped up massively here.
yeah,
It's still
as you would
untiered.
expect.
Yeah, it's still untiered. Um,
Yeah.
um, but its speed's jumped up to higher than it was as a Weedle. Like basically all of its stats have jumped up, which I think is fantastic. But I'm interested to see what Mega Beedrill has got as well.
I reckon it's gonna be. I feel like. I mean, it's gonna be decent because obviously it's a mega evolution. Um, I'm surprised that none of its stats are in the green as regular Beedrill. If all these Pokédex entries bang on how I can defeat any
Mm,
opponent and how everyone's like it's the scary enemy of the show.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Uh,
yeah.
I tell you what, I feel like looking at that now, like I feel like this might be a controversial opinion. I feel like that's a slightly uninspired design for Mega Beedrill.
I mean, it's got extra stings.
Yeah,
But it's just extra stings actually.
yeah. Well, it's got extra
Its
stings.
stats are fucked. They are so much better than regular
Mm.
Beedrill.
It,
Um,
the speed is 3 times what it was as a Weedle.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
and
yeah.
the attack is so high as well. I feel like that's a high. I mean, I feel like when we were looking at the previous episodes, but this is like the first one that I've been like, wow, the stats on that are like, you know,
Mm.
pretty good. And maybe it's because we've seen how crap they were in the beginning, whereas like again we didn't do it at the time, but I feel like if you were to compare the stats of a Weedle versus the stats of a Squirtle, you're gonna like there's gonna be like a much higher disparity. Um, but yeah, like I mean, I feel like its Stinger almost looks like a bit of a rip off of a what are they called now? A Vesper Queen. Um,
Okay.
because it's got the kind of like ridges in it that Vesper Queen's got. Um,
I get that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's like pointed out instead of branching out like a skirt.
yeah, uh,
I get that.
yeah,
I would like to see. I think it'd be cute. I'd like to see um in our little B episode that we came up with.
yeah,
I would like to see like the Beedrill like rallying together to protect the Vespiquen because the combi is so useless and like one of them mega evolving to make sure the Vespiquen is okay so they still have plenty of honey to go around.
yeah,
And then all of the people characters can be like, that's why they were attacking us. They were just protecting Vespiquen. We'll let them know that we're not here to hurt her. And then like Brock comes in or whoever's going to be the healer in the new
mm,
season comes in with like a healing berry for the ill Vespiquen that all the bees are worried about.
uh-huh. And
That would be how why am I not a writer on Pokemon? Is just
Satoshi
why?
Tajiri, get in touch with us. Why are you not getting in touch with us? We've got so many ideas that we could, like that episode of The Simpsons. Have no fears, we've got stories for years. Um,
Eh,
but yeah, I do. I feel like maybe it's because of how simple Beedrill's kind of design is because of the limitations. I don't know. I'm a
hmm.
tiny bit unimpressed by.
Yeah, I don't think that's how I would have done Mega Beedrill because I think original Beedrill was kind of like it was simple but effective.
Yeah,
And I think I agree. I think making the stinger on the bottom, I think I would have made it like more streamlined
yeah,
if they're leaning into speed.
yeah,
Because here it looks kind of heavier and clunkier.
yeah,
Um, I think maybe I would have given instead of giving it more black stripes, given it like a black body with yellow highlights,
yeah,
so it looks more like it's yellow. It's yellow is like a go faster stripe,
yeah,
you know?
That's fair.
And then I think I wouldn't have added additional stingers to the legs. I think I would have but made the tail stinger
Yeah,
longer so that it looked faster and sharper.
yeah,
Because I think I quite like I like the idea they've got going with the original stingers getting longer because I think
yeah.
they kind of look like jousting
I
lances,
was gonna say
and I
that.
think that actually really works.
Yeah,
But I think because they're trying to now make them bigger than the other stingers, they've made them look a bit heavy and slow.
yeah,
Um, and for a Pokemon with that high speed, I think I would have made the tail longer and thinner and
yeah,
the lances longer and thinner
yeah,
and then made it look just more streamlined
yeah,
and faster and just made it longer rather than fatter,
yeah,
which is the first time I've ever said I want the Pokemon to be less fat.
yeah.
I
This,
love a fat Pokemon.
yeah,
But I don't think that Mega Beedrill looks threatening because it's got broader. It looks like it's almost more of a honeybee, which is the least threatening bee.
yeah,
I would make it like sleek and black like a hornet.
yeah. You don't want it to be a bumblebee drill, do you? Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I think for me, my main issue is the legs. I think the hind legs having the stingers as well almost make it look a tiny bit too much. What I'd have gone with is and I like the bigger antennas, and I like yourself.
Yeah, I like the bigger antennas, and I think the eyes look more threatening as well because they're
Yeah,
a bit narrower.
yeah, I like that. And I
They look
like
angrier.
the kind of the longer arms that look like jousting. But what I would have done in terms of Mega Beedrill, I would have actually, going off of the lore that we've just read there, I'd have gone for like a magneton type situation where I would have gotten a few of
Ooh.
them. So it's like this is like a swarm at this point now.
Yeah. Like when with all of them talking about like swarms, um, I feel like I really again we're gonna get to this when we get to the later generations, but I think that Pokemon like Wishy-Washy, the fish, the little fish that becomes a massive
Yeah,
fish, I think that's a really cool concept.
yeah,
But also like in the game, in the lore, it's like lots of them get together and become one big fish. But in the game, you catch one and then you've got enough for it to be a big fish.
yeah,
And I don't know if that translates very well to the games. And I guess the closest parallel you have here, but because it's not a game mechanic, it's not too bad.
mm,
But the closest parallel you have here are like Beedrill being in swarms and Tauros being in herds.
yeah,
So I think if they had found a way for that to be incorporated into the game, that would be really cool. And
mm,
if it's just like the way that Beedrill like buzzes like when it does a dance and it buzzes and it summons whatever other Beedrill are
yeah,
nearby, and then it's got like a special move it can use like once, and then like when they had like the Z moves or the X moves or whatever the fuck it was, and you just have like a whole swarm of Beedrill appear out of nowhere and just like dive bomb your
mm,
enemy and jab them with poison, and then no matter what, the enemy is poisoned afterwards and they lose a bunch of HP
yeah,
because of all the Beedrills jabbing them, and then they all go back to where they came from, and then it's your Beedrill left to finish them off.
yeah,
That would be a really cool special move for like a
mm,
Mega Beedrill or similar.
yeah. I
Why don't I work for Pokemon? Oh, I'm giving
Sat-
away my ideas for free.
Satoshi Tajiri, send us a message. Um, but yeah, I think that'd be cool, and I also think it'd be cool if they wanted to, they could put in like a mechanic of like if you face a Beedrill and it's like in an area where because they do like swarms, don't they? They do like this Pokemon is swarming or whatever, right? For the ones that are known
Yeah.
for doing swarms, if you go against to fight it,
Ooh.
it's like it's almost always like a 3-on-1
Yeah.
against your
I
Pokemon.
I would really like them to do more of the double, triple, and horde battles
Mm.
in mechanic in the game. So I really liked those. I thought that felt realistic.
Yeah,
like, because especially with animals that travel in packs and herds and whatnot, you're more likely to find a few at a time.
Yeah,
I thought that made a lot of sense. I thought it was a really fun mechanic, and I would like to see it again. And I think Beedrill is a really good one for it. That would be really challenging.
yeah,
Like, because like you usually get the forest at the beginning of the game, so you can get your low level bug type. But imagine like a big scary forest at the end of the game,
mm,
full of like the most terrifying bug types.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Like it starts off with just like a really powerful Butterfree, and you're like, oh, that wasn't too bad. And then you get swarms of Beedrill and like just like massive Golissopods and things,
well, I mean,
and a
anyone.
Genesect at the end.
Oh, I love Genesect. So cool. Um, they're possibly my favourite bug type. Uh, but anyone who's watched this channel and watched the Pokemon Violet streams that we did, because I'm rubbish with directions, went the wrong way, and for hours I was just getting battered by Vesper Queens, absolutely battered.
How? You can go two different ways, and they're both full of really low level Pokemon.
Because I went because I went left, because you can go left or you can go right, and I went
Yeah.
left, and then I went left for a bit, and then I went down, and just got. I'm not very good with directions. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that I made it back here tonight for the podcast. Like, it was very likely that there's a version of reality where we're doing this podcast, and I'm on a phone going, yes, I've got a. I really like Beedrill, and if anybody could subscribe to the Patreon, because otherwise I'm going to have to ask, I'm going to have to sleep on the streets now. So, should we give it the rating?
Let's give it our rating.
Okay,
What are you feeling?
I'm thinking I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I was thinking, go on,
Oh,
give me your explanation.
just because I think it's got enough history in the anime. I think it's popular enough, even though I'm not particularly that bothered about it. I think it's got like decent. It looks like it's got decent stats. It's got decent kind of. It's got decent. Got a decent design, and I think it is like kind of It has maintained its coolness like across the
Yeah.
generations. It's kind of a bit like Wolverine. It's moody. It's sassy.
Yeah. I get you. I don't disagree with any of the points that you've made. I think I would give it a bit less though. I think I would give it a five.
A 5.
A
Wow,
five.
very.
Because I think it's cool. I think it's edgy. I think it's in the show enough that it's memorable. But I've never bothered to have one on my team. And after our conversation today, I feel like it is quite underutilized in terms of how its story could go, how it could appear in the show, how it could appear in the games. And I feel like there's just a lot of wasted potential with it.
Mm,
And like that, those other 5 points that I really want it to have are things that I can see what they could have done and didn't.
yeah,
And I just want everyone to be a bit cleverer so they can keep up with me.
yeah. Fair. Satoshi Tajiri, give us a job now.
How do I get into like the ideas room? Like, I don't even care about the implementation. I just want to be in the ideas room and let like some other nerds figure out how it fits.
Yeah. So I feel like I would love that, but I feel like I mean, we mentioned The Simpsons a lot this episode, but like I could imagine me in a writer's room being like similar to how Homer is when he's in the writing room, and it's like, okay, I've got this idea. Every time Beedrill's not on screen, people are asking, "Where's Beedrill?"
Where's Beedrill?